I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act. To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. Why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason.
He says the cheating is rampant, and yet he can't prove it. If it were so rampant, then prove it.
Well, in 2020, you can point to just Zuckerbuck. Zuckerbuck's alone beat him. Or you can point to the censorship on the Hunter Biden laptop. That was enough in 4 swing states.
Okay. He said
what?
Cheating. I don't want us to get off topic here. He said cheating in elections. He's talking about voter fraud.
I know he is.
He says it is rampant. No. I'm asking the President of the United States to prove it. They have asked all the states, they've gotten it from, a dozen states or so, to give them their voter rolls. Why have they not been able to prove that rampant fraud?
So those voter roll disputes are cleaning millions of people off the voter rolls.
Sure.
And I'm
Show me the
lumping
proof
in
of fraud. That's all I'm
others.
asking. Where's the fraud?
Because names on those voter rolls are voted.
There is one truth about voter fraud in the United States, and that is that it does not exist to any degree of consequence anywhere in this country. And I know that for a fact because the Republican Party has proved it to me. For decades, Republicans have searched high and low in every corner of this country with massive budgets, the power of subpoena, a presidential commission, the Department of Justice, legislative committees, state legislatures, academics, think tanks, conservative media. They have looked everywhere. The Heritage Foundation has a fraud tracker. They've looked at elections dating back to the 1970s. That's billions of votes, not every single vote, but billions of votes. And if you I looked at it the other day, 1,620 cases of proven fraud. Now, I think it is fair to say that this is a solution in search of a problem.
Wait a minute. How much fraud is okay? I would say zero.
It depends on if you're going to disenfranchise Americans who have the right to vote.
How much fraud is okay? What's an acceptable number?
Okay, so they tried this in Kansas, and they looked at, and they found a handful, I think less than 20.
So that's an acceptable number of fraud in your mind?
They would have, if that had gone through, they would have disenfranchised 33,000.
No one's disenfranchised.
33,000.
That's not true. Every person who's eligible to vote can register and can vote. It's the easiest country to vote in the world.
Yes, but
why is it crazy to think that you ought to have a voter ID?
That's not because this is not, and this is what drives me nuts. This is not a voter ID bill. Stop saying that. That's not true.
Are you for voter ID though?
Voter ID, fine. We're here. This is not voter ID.
It's an 80-20 issue. It's an 80-20 issue.
Can we talk about what the issue is in the SAVE Act?
Right.
The issue is proving your citizenship. Voter ID is what they did in Indiana back in 2004, 2006. Voter ID is when you show up, you have to present an ID which proves your residency in the state. What people have done throughout the states is say that, look, if you don't have a driver's license, you can use a utility bill. Right. You can use a college bill, college ID.
That's not voter ID.
That actually is voter ID.
No, a photo ID issued by the government. You should have to have one of those.
But you know what's crazy? What we're talking about is disenfranchising.
It's not disenfranchising.
Can I finish?
Anyone can get it.
They're only 50% of Americans don't have a valid birth certificate or passport. That is what's required under the SAVE Act.
No,
that's not voter ID. What
let me tell you a story.
You listed two. It's the same as real ID and then a whole bunch of other stuff.
So when you try and get your ID, you need 2 proofs of citizenship. Most of the time, or proofs of identification. Most of the time, it is a birth certificate. And if you have a birth certificate, then you can use a utility bill. Neither one of those have your photo on it, I want to point out. If you don't have a birth certificate, you need like 5 forms of ID, which sometimes can be challenging. I'm telling you, as someone who had a grandmother who did not have her birth certificate, she was born in Panama City, Florida, okay? My mom had to call the Board of Elections in Panama City, Florida, to try and get proof of her birth. She is living, she is breathing, she is a black woman, she has lived nowhere else than Youngstown. Well, that's not true, and a couple other cities, but primarily in Youngstown, Ohio. Do you know how they said that she could prove her ID? A family Bible. Now, you want to tell me a family Bible is how we are? That's the law in a state like Florida. Voter ID laws do raise the threshold and make it harder. There is a significant amount of Americans that don't have passports because they've never left the country. Passports are expensive. So if you want to pay for everyone to get a passport, great. Make it easy like that. Or they don't have access to their birth certificate, and it is not easy actually
You should
to
get access to your birth certificate.
Yes,
work
but,
to the
but
wise.
what I'm
Everyone
saying
in America
is
should
it is
do the work
not
to get that.
easy to get access to your birth certificate because you need other forms of ID to get access to your birth certificate, but you can't get your birth certificate if you don't have those IDs, and you can't get those IDs if you don't have your birth certificate.
Isn't this
It's
also
circular.
just about the fact that Trump lost the last election and hasn't?
I don't
gotten
think
he's
Ken
mad.
believes that he lost in 2020. Ken, do you believe he lost in
Oh,
2020?
Yep. They swore Joe Biden in, saw the whole thing. Yeah.
But did Joe Biden win rightfully? Because you mentioned this thing about Hunter Biden's laptop, and you went in this rabbit hole.
He won, but I think Zuckerbucks is wrongfully. And I think the censorship that took place with Joe Biden's full knowledge on the Hunter Biden laptop wasn't illegal, but it was cheating.
Okay. The president
Legally
continues.
stolen.
The president continues to believe that he won an election that he lost, and now is trying to fashion American policy around that falsehood. Is that really how we should be operating in this country? That he wants to outlaw mail-in ballots, even though Republicans utilize them and win when they exist, just because he thinks wrongly that he won an election that he lost?
I think he lawfully lost in 2020. I don't think we ought to have mail-in ballots. I do think you ought to have voter ID. And I don't think the Congress ought to do it. I think the states ought to do it. But I think every state in the country should have voter ID and no mail-in ballots. That is the only right way to run an election that has no fraud. And I don't see why it's even an issue. And the American people don't either. About 80% of Americans think we ought to have voter ID in every state with a photograph issued by the state, not a utility bill. That's not voter ID. You could steal that out of the apartment mailroom. You need a voter ID.
You do realize that's the
from
law
government,
in certain states,
I
right?
do.
You
I
just
do.
said pass it down to
I do.
states, and
I
that
do.
is the
No,
law.
every state. No,
part
every
of the
state.
Help America vote Act.
Every state.
I know.
24 years ago. And it's inadequate.
Every state should have a government-issued photo ID as a requirement to show up to vote.
So are you going
you know what
to?
else
Let me
is
ask you
gonna
this
say that?
question. Let me ask you this question. Fundamentally, conservative Republicans, are you going to pay for it?
I think
Every state that
Are you?
requires
Yes or no?
voter ID
I'll do it. I'll tell you
pays for the
what. I will-
voter
It's,
ID.
it's yes or no.
If you
Are
will
you
say,
going to pay
if you
for
will
it?
say yes
Then
and
the
get rid of
answer is
mail
yes.
voting, yes.
So you're going to pay for it?
If you'll get rid of mail voting, yes.
No, not
No,
if.
Yeah.
There's no if.
No, it is if.
No,
It is
if you want people to have, there's no if. Do you want people to have
It's
ID
a
or no?
grand bargain.
Do you want people to have an ID or not?
Oh, free ID. Yeah, free ID, of course.
So you want the
Absolutely.
state's going to pay for it?
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
state's going to pay for it?
Absolutely. They do in Tennessee.
That-
You
that's-
know,
okay.
but you
that's
know what
fine.
also is in the SAVE Act? It's like when people motor voter bill, right? When
You
people
can
go
assist them?
assist them, and it's actually trying to remove that. So when people actually go to get a photo ID from a state agency, and then could also easily register to vote because they've already proven who they are because they have a photo ID.
But you have to bring
In
it-
that bill, it is taking that assistance at the DMV out. So it is again putting another unnecessary barrier.
You can
If
still
all-
register at DMV.
And you should
This
be able to
bill doesn't
and you should
stop
be able to
that.
register the same day too, right, Ken?
No, absolutely
vote?
not. Absolutely not.
Why
30
not?
days out. 30 days out.
Why do the goalposts keep moving for Republicans?
Because they
on this?
lose.
Republicans.
No, it's not. It's because we're trying to take fraud to
look,
zero.
Let me finish my question because it seems to me that at all these different junctures, Republicans have been talking about voter fraud. They got Help America Vote. Some states have voter ID. Georgia, the state that Trump thinks that he won when he lost, it has a voter ID law on the books. Even those things are not sufficient, even though the prevalence of fraud has not increased. So why does what you guys are asking for keep changing and keep shifting?
So I don't think that it does. I think attention has been brought to this after 2020 on the right. The left has been engaged in pursuing its goals in the process since 2004. And the right only really got into the game since
If
2020.
I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that since 2020, again, since Trump lost an election that he rightfully lost, that Republicans are suddenly more fixated on changing the rules of voting.
Cleaning up those areas. that
Why?
need it.
Because
but look,
why?
this isn't.
If he lost and he rightfully lost,
I'm sorry if
then
we're on your
why?
turf after 20 years, but up until 2020, Democrats owned this space. And Republicans weren't even participating in it. And I think an awful
what
lot of the
space?
pushback,
Voter-
election reform, of any kind. So I work.
Republicans dominate
with,
voter suppression.
Republicans don't perform voter suppression.
There's no such thing.
Okay. Let me just
Look,
And there's no fraud either.
I do want to understand what you're saying, Ken.
So
finish your
let's
thought.
set, if it's possible for anybody, set Donald Trump aside. And look, I work in the election reform space. I've always had the opinion that if you pulled 100 random Americans off the street and put them in a hotel and asked them to design an election system, and you did it 1,000 times, they'd come awfully close to one another. And by the way, they'd all have voter ID, and they'd all make
With a
you prove you're a
photograph.
citizen, because it is overwhelmingly popular.
They'd also make
across
election
the
day a
aisle.
day off.
Yes.
They do
No,
same
you're
day.
right.
They
They would
have
do
same day
same day
registration.
voter
No,
registration.
I don't think so.
They don't do
Yeah.
30 day
You know what
early
else they
voting.
would? You
Why
know what else
not?
they would
Why
probably
wouldn't they do
do?
same day?
They would
Because you
probably
have to be able
also
to know
have a
who's on the
system.
file
It's
so that you can
It's
challenge someone who's
2026.
not lawfully
It's
registered.
2026.
But you have to have it 30 days
Americans,
after.
I think,
Get checked.
probably believe there
And you
should
also
be a
want to be able to
system
check.
right now in which the government, who knows who is a citizen and who is not, who is eligible to vote and who is not, the government actually does its job and checks who is eligible to
So-
vote in the moment that someone is trying to vote.
So this is an
these
interesting
are
point.
pretty straightforward things that yes, Americans would want, but that's not what we're putting on the table.
So this is a real interesting point, and I bet a lot of people watching don't know this. The U.S. government does not have a list of U.S. citizens. I think there's a certain expectation out there that such a list exists. Really, you have to build the proof on an individual basis because we have never maintained a national list of who's a U.S. citizen. Other countries
But
do
the
this,
states,
but we have
but the
intentionally,
states
on a
have
bipartisan
access
basis,
to,
by the way,
the states
avoided that.
do have access to, if the documentation that can prove that you're born in the United States exists, that means that the state has it, okay? So your birth certificate, the state has that. So there may not be a national registry of American
Right.
citizens, but every state knows who was born in their jurisdiction. Every state, the federal government does know who's been naturalized. There is a list of
They know
those people.
naturalized citizens,
Yes,
that's
so
right.
those are the people who are eligible to vote, the naturalized ones.
Yep.
So this information does exist. I don't think it's accurate to suggest that it doesn't. The government is the keeper of the information.
I'm not arguing with you on this point. I'm pointing out there are a lot of people who really don't want the U.S. government to have one comprehensive.
I didn't say
list.
I didn't
and
say
that's
the
a good
U.S.
idea,
government.
because
I didn't
we
say the
should
U.S.
not
government. I
have-
said the states. The
Right.
states
Yes,
are managing
I heard you.
elections. The
I heard
states
you.
we
manage
should
elections.
not have, and it's clear now,
And
we
they
should
should.
not have one national election law. We should not have the national government running elections because it makes them, not having the federal government run all elections makes elections much harder to steal, as Donald Trump found out.
quite true.
Because the decentralization of the election process means that in local areas at the state level as well, people are proud to find and count and tabulate and present the voice of their communities, whether they are Republicans or whether they are Democrats. That's why Trump couldn't get those 1,170 votes or whatever it was.
And
know
that's
what else?
ultimately
But-
why
Because
he's
they
so
were
upset.
Georgians.
Yes.
And they were not going to let this fella. And frankly, it gives me the willies when Donald Trump says, if you pass this law, they won't win an election for 50 years.
And by
You know what else is in the
Democrats.
SAVE
Well,
Act?
you mean it's
The
Democrats,
other thing
yeah.
that's in the SAVE Act is prosecuting election administrators who make a mistake when people are registering to vote, like sending them to jail. That's intimidation of state people, the people that you're talking about, the Ruby Freemans, the Shea Mosses that
Yes.
stood in the
So you
gap.
don't
to-
like
The
that.
Brad Raffenspergers, the local people who
that-
love their
So
communities and their
HR
states.
1, the Democrats' Washington takeover of elections,
That's not what it
had
did.
a criminal provision that was wildly vaguely worded of impeding anyone registering to vote or exercising any right under the bill. And what they were aiming at was local officials who say at a DMV someone presents and can't speak English, but that state has automatic voter registration because that was also in HR 1. It was mandated in HR 1. And so if you said, are you a citizen, are you qualified, that could be a prosecutable
No, that's
offense.
not what was in
And
HR 1.
It was in
I'm
HR 1.
quite familiar with HR 1.
Yes, so am I.
Yeah, it
So am
wasn't
I.
in HR 1.
And
this provision is not what you're
there's
suggesting.
a third one. There's a third provision where the Democrats took away penalties from non-citizens voting who were registered by the mandates of HR 1. So yes, it was illegal, but there was no penalty.
Well, I mean, how are you going to penalize somebody for an administrative error? I think
Right.
That's the purpose.
And this law
and the
would.
purpose of
Because
HR,
as
of the
we know,
Democrats' HR one
that
was
is
to put
actually
millions
Why
of
don't you,
that's actually something that
if
that
you
has
sign up
happened.
for selective
All
service,
right.
why don't you get registered to vote at 18?
We got to leave it there. Coming up next, one topic that is looming over tonight's speech is the Epstein files, and there are some new details tonight that dozens of FBI witness interviews appear to be missing from those released files. We'll discuss that next.